Welcome back. Last week, Governor Hogan announced that the state of Maryland will spend $5 million studying the prospect of a third span across the Chesapeake Bay. Henry, what do you think a third bay bridge could mean for Maryland?
Well, if you've ever sat on Route 50 on a Friday afternoon going to Ocean City, you know we need a third bridge within the state of Maryland. It's a question of where that third bridge should be located, whether we're putting it adjacent to the existing bottleneck that's going across the bay, looking north of Baltimore to go over to Kent County, or down south in Calvert County and going across at Dorchester or Talbot. That's really where the question is. It's not a matter of if we need it, we do need it. The longevity of our bridge is good for another, I think it's 50 years. But predicting traffic flow heading towards that bridge, it's exponential. It's going to be a greater bottleneck. I think they're talking 10 to 12 miles worth of backup for that. And if we start a construction process in the next 4 or 5 years, pending the research, the price tag is going to be a lot less to our taxpayers than what's going to be in 10 to 20 years.
It's going to be a little bit longer than 4 years. I think the study itself
Won't
will
take
be
that
4
long.
years
Yeah.
and cost $5 million.
Yeah,
It's
here's
gonna be a
my
while.
problem, and I like the Eastern Shore people because they're kind of like us. They're not in the heavy, densely populated areas and face some of the same issues that we face. Is this our most critical transportation need at this point? I'm not sure that it is, and maybe I'm wrong. But the research that I did over the week suggests, and I heard someone call it the potential biggest boondoggle in years. So I'm just not sure from my perspective that there's justification to, I think it makes sense maybe to do the study, but to actually do the project, I think you've got to do, I don't know how much the study's going to get into a return on investment or not, but.
And what is causing the backups? Is it the maintenance on the bridge that they're closing down lanes?
You have 2 lanes worth of road.
Too many cars.
But
being
how is that
funneled
different
down.
than any other highway? I mean, what's happening on the bridge that is
some have
causing the
more
bottleneck? Well,
If you're around New York
It's not
State, some of these
necessarily
other
the bridge
bridges-
that's the bottleneck.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
a lot of it's the infrastructure leading up to the bridge,
Yeah, but
and that you
it's
can't
still-
take it offline for an extended period of time to widen it out. I mean, Route 50 going down there, I'm fairly familiar with that area once you leave
Also
Annapolis.
2 lanes, right,
And
yeah.
we're going from 4 lanes of traffic down to 2 lanes of traffic.
right.
And
That's all, yeah, it's really.
when you get across the bridge, it's equally
Yeah.
congested.
Yeah, so it's just, everything is just, but again, I don't know where you're gonna put the bridge. I mean, like, it's going to cost, if they do it in the present location, the estimate is
Nearly
plus
$7 billion.
nearly
right.
$7 billion. So you better have a study.
Right.
I think it's fair enough. They should do it because there are so many questions. You really should spend at least $5 million figuring out, because there's so many intangibles here. In terms of just the infrastructure to support the new one is going to cost. I don't think that's necessarily included in that price.
Well, also the engineering that we have to look at. If we put it further south, where there's the trade for the Port of Baltimore coming
Yes.
up,
Yeah.
we're going to have a lot wider spans going across that section of the bay.
Right.
So it's going to be a lot more engineering and expense in that bridge, and we're looking 6 to 12 miles long of a bridge.
Yeah.
Now, I don't have a problem driving a bridge, but my wife does. So
Well, what about a tunnel?
there we go, a tunnel. Yeah, she's not close.
The bridge and tunnel at Chesapeake Bay.
Or especially if you have to drive on the opposite side when they're doing work.
yeah.
That's,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
that's-
fun too when you
that's
have
kinda
oncoming
odd,
traffic
isn't it?
coming. It's extremely stressful when you're on your way to the beach.
Some are suggesting that maybe it should go up more north in the bay, but then that kind of benefits Delaware, doesn't it?
potentially.
You know what I mean, in a sense. If you're going to do it up there, well, they should pay something for that bridge.
Think about the poor people that have properties that are
Yeah.
going to be affected by that. I mean, that's
apparently quite a few.
that is
They do.
prime real estate. And yes, what I read was quite a few.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
there's a lot of private property that's going to have to be purchased.
It's going to be, I don't know how many years, like you're saying. I mean, this is some time out.
It is,
I think.
but again, it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see what the study finds in terms of the return on investment.
Yeah. Now, it was just looking at the whole overview of the whole thing. To me, having it farther south makes more sense to me commercially in every which way. However, the price tag, do you really want to do that? Is really, because doing it up north.
Well, doing up north, you're going. Doing down south makes more sense because you're going to keep the traffic hopefully in Maryland.
Yeah.
And you're going to benefit those that are in
Yes.
southwestern shore of the Bay and
Exactly.
DC area, make it more convenient for them to go across.
And more convenient for the Northern Virginia people, maybe, to
Potentially.
get over and go to Ocean City also. spend
So,
their
you know,
money
next
now.
week, on the flip side, we're going to have the Deputy Secretary of Transportation for the state of Maryland. This is a good question to
It's a
ask.
very good
Absolutely.
Yeah, we can spend a minute or so on that next week when
That'd
we
be
have him
really-
on.
Yeah,
That should be,
I
so,
should think so.
excellent.
It certainly isn't going to be a quick fix, and I'm looking forward
No,
to
but they
seeing
need
what
to
they have to
spend the
say.
money. I think it's.
We need a lot of infrastructure projects in this,
We're
in
way
this state.
behind
We
the
really
last
are, and
number
you know,
of
we,
years, and-
you know, and all due respect, and whether you like Obama or not, the fact of the matter is these shovel-ready projects. I think we squandered a good bit of money in that American Reinvestment and Recovery Act. I mean, you know, categorizing, with all due respect to the science community, categorizing and putting specimens of bugs from one plastic container to another. I'm not sure that I would call that a shovel-ready project, but that was, what, $4 or $5 million? And that was just one example of thousands of those types of things.
Yeah, but even now, the Congress simply can't agree on any kind of infrastructure bill or what they want to do. There's all kinds of proposals out there, including one by our congressman, that has 40 plus on both sides of the aisle
Well, it's
supporting it, and it goes nowhere.
too bad we didn't forecast appropriately when the bridge was originally built. So way more to debate on that.
Yes.
Next up on the flip side, our panel discusses this week's winners and losers. We're back in 3 minutes.